This is Let's Talk Teens, a parenting podcast sharing tips on raising amazing teenagers. We are both certified life coaches that have worked with teenagers as coaches, mentors, and teachers. We are sharing what we found to work when dealing with teens and tough issues.
Hey, welcome back to the podcast, episode 3 with Abbi and Cheree. We're going to talk how to help your teens be in charge of their emotions.
Oh, Cheree, I'm excited to talk and we'll continue our conversation about emotions because this is like getting down to what we're thinking about when our teen is like flying off in a rage or they are so sad or moody or angsty. That's like my favorite word with teenagers is angsty. And we're just like, how do I help them? Like, what can I do to help them be in charge of these emotions? Because it sometimes can feel like they are a roller coaster.
Yep. Or they're raging or they're out of control. Like emotions just feel like the emotions are totally controlling them instead of them being in control of the emotion, right? The emotion is bossing them. We want to change that for them. I have some thoughts, and I want to hear your thoughts on this. But I think we teens, us as humans, us as adults, every age, a lot of times our programming kind of teaches us that we shouldn't feel our emotions. Like you think about when we were moms of young kids. You still are. I love that. Like one of your kids is crying or sad and we want to distract them. We want to say like, oh, here's some fruit snacks, or here, look at my phone. And we want to help them get out of that, like feeling anything uncomfortable. And I don't think we as parents realize that what we're doing is we're kind of creating this programming for them that if they feel something uncomfortable, then it needs to be controlled or it needs to be eased or distracted or something needs to fix it. And so we have this programming in our head that like these emotions, something's gone terribly wrong. We need to fix it. And so we do something to hide from that emotion or we do something to ease the intensity of it, I guess, or distract us. And so with that, the more we run away from the emotions because they don't feel comfortable, the bigger they actually get. And that's when they start to control us because we're always running from the emotions. Have you found that as well?
Oh, yeah. Like I think about this is bad to admit, but when I'm like, oh, I really want to just eat a big bowl of ice cream, it's usually because I'm feeling sad and I don't want to feel sad anymore, or I'm bored and I don't want to be bored anymore. It's like this uncomfortable feeling that I know ice cream will take away. And I hate to admit that to you, Cheree, but that's where my brain goes. But
Hey, I do the same thing. So I'm like perfect. Right? I mean, we have so many things that create a dopamine hit for us or something, that feel good chemical. And here we're feeling these emotions that feel horrible. And we just want to do anything to like ease that horrible feeling and cover up and hide from it. And the problem is that doesn't work. It calms it down temporarily. And then that emotion just still is there. And then it gets bigger and then it comes up. And then then your teenager walks in the room, they've already been feeling maybe anxious or maybe they've been feeling stressed and they keep, stuffing it down. They what I call buffer or hide from their emotions. And then they just keep pushing it down and pushing it down. And then all of a sudden they just erupt and they're like a volcano and they yell at you and they yell at their sister or they, fly off the handle. And what that really is so much built up emotion that they keep just pushing down. I use this analogy with my teen clients all the time of like, okay, I just want you to think about maybe you have like a 3-year-old sibling or something and they want candy for dinner and mom says no candy for dinner and they throw the biggest fit and mom's like, stop throwing the fit. What happens to the fit? Abbi, what happens to the fit when you tell them to stop?
bigger, huge, catastrophic.
Right? And I'm like, no, stop throwing the fit just gets bigger. And I'm like, what would happen if instead of mom's telling the 3-year-old stop throwing the fit, mom was like, you can throw that fit as long as you need to. Like, I know you're upset about not having candy, and that's totally okay. Like, you can feel upset, you can feel mad, you can feel disappointed. You just like feel all those emotions and you throw that fit as long as you need to. Like, it is okay. What would happen to that fit?
It would stop. They would be like, what? What is happening right now?
But guess what? That happens still as a teenager. We tell our teenagers like stop being so angry or stop feeling so anxious or stop crying or stop feeling so sad or stop feeling depressed. And what happens instead of like calming that down, it actually intensifies. And what would happen if we started giving each other, our teenagers especially, permission to feel their emotions?
This whole episode, right, is about teaching teens to be in charge of their emotions. And part of that is letting them feel it. And then part of that is letting them have healthy buffers. I think we're so fixated, especially because Instagram and Reels is showing us like, this is an unhealthy buffer, Abby, to eat this bowl of ice cream. And that's true. But a healthy buffer would be me going on a walk because I've had a really rough day, or me calling up my mom. And these are real things I did today. I had a rough day today. I went on a walk. I called my mom. I called my dad, right? And those are healthy ways that I could still feel those emotions and have a buffer and work through them. And so I think as a parent, when you notice that your teen son is just brooding and it seems like he's on his video games all day, you might want to take a second and pause and go, am I okay with this buffer? Like, I recognize what's happening right now. And am I okay with that? Because maybe it's a yes and maybe it's a no. And maybe it's a, hey, as a family, let's all go on a walk because we're trying to teach what can be a healthy way to manage these emotions. Because just like you said, if we're like, oh, stop feeling that way, just turn it off, it makes it worse. So can we show them healthy buffers, healthy ways that we can manage and work through these emotions? And I love you talk a lot about naming it and the power of naming it. Tell us about that.
Yeah, and actually, that's usually the first step I teach. And I love everything you just said. 100% validate that. Um, Neuroscientists, those scientists who study our brain and our emotions and why we think and why we feel what we do, have found that when we name our emotion, the intensity of that vibration in our body, that emotion moving through our body, decreases by 50% just by naming it. Now, when I teach my clients to name it, I don't want them to make the emotion their identity. Like, I am mad. I want them to say, I feel mad. And I always say, you're not your emotions, just like you're not the clothes you wear. Like I feel mad. And just saying that, like, I feel mad. And then we want to teach them not only to name it, that's going to decrease it already because you're calling it what it is. Your brain now can like analyze, oh, this is what's going on in my body. I feel mad. Now I'm going to validate it and be like, of course I feel mad. My parents won't let me go to the party. And of course I want to go to the party because I don't want to feel rejected or lonely or have FOMO. Like, of course I'm going to be mad about this. Like, it's totally valid. And we're going to teach our teens to validate their own emotions, but also validate, of course you feel mad. I'm going to get to a few more points, but like one of my favorite stories of experiencing this as a parent that happened a few years back is a teenager at that time. He was so mad at me. Now with my older kids, I hate to admit it, this is what I would do, Abby. I'd be like, don't be mad at me. Don't feel mad at me. I wouldn't even say feel. I'd be like, don't be mad at me, right? Like, don't
Mhm.
feel that emotion, push it down, right? Or tell him to stop throwing the fit. And with him, I was like, you can totally feel mad at me. Like, truthfully, this is where I validated him. If I were in your shoes, I would feel mad too. I think it was something he wanted to do that we said no to. Like, totally valid that you're mad and upset about this, for sure. And that's important, that validation of like, yeah, quite honestly, any normal teen that their parents don't let them go to the party should not feel happy about that. That is not the correct emotion. We want them to feel mad that they are not allowed to go do something that is a normal desire for a teenager to want to go. There might be good reasons we're saying no, but we actually want them to feel upset about that. We don't want them to feel happy about that. That's way more concerning. If they're just like, no, they're fine, that's good. Like there's something else going on there, really.
Yeah, they're
But
sneaking out later. They're like,
yes, something else is
whatever.
happening. Exactly. They're speaking out later. But so we want to name it. We want to validate emotions. And the third one is we want to allow them. You can feel mad as long as you want. I remember telling my son that, like, you can feel mad at me as long as you need to. Now, the truth of the matter, I think it was like less than 5 minutes and he came and gave me a hug and we were good. And I still wasn't really happy with what I said, but we were good because I was like, yeah, it's okay that you feel mad. I'm going to allow it. When our teenagers realize, like, I can feel nervous and still go to this party. I can feel stressed and still study for this test or still go to school. I can feel really, really, really insecure and I can still get up and give a talk in church or give a report in school. Like, I can feel all those emotions. I can allow them and I'm still going to show up. And then I like to just tell them, like, number 4 is just do a body scan. Like, where are you feeling this in your body? And a lot of times, like with anxiety, it's like, oh, I've got butterflies. Okay, where that emotion is actually vibrating in your body, is right in your stomach. Or I have this pounding headache right now. Okay, you're feeling a lot of stress. Of course, it's going to resonate, or it's going to be more in your head. And so I help them like name, validate, allow, where it is in your body. Those 4 steps, that takes about 90 seconds. And when we do those 4 steps, that's processing our emotions. And that's what neuroscientists say, that when we actually process our emotions, it leaves our body in 90 seconds.
With my clients too, we draw it sometimes. If it's like something huge, in their life that they're like, I just can't shake these feelings. Like we'll draw it in our body and say, okay, is it green? Is it sticky? Is it sharp? Is it hot? Is it cold? And it just really disarms them. And I bet your son was so disarmed when you were like, it's okay, you can be mad at me. And I bet he was just like, oh, I was not expecting that from mom. And I think it's so good to come into a teen's real world and be like, listen, I would be ticked too. Like I was ticked one time when my mom said this to me, but now I get it as a parent, right? So go be ticked in your room. You're still not going. And I love you, right? And I listened, I validated, and that allows them to go, well, man, I'm here with my feelings. And hopefully they'll go through those steps and in that 90 seconds start to process what they're feeling. So just so amazing. And I know in our next episode coming up, we're going to be talking about ways that you can help your teen even when they're feeling those intense, sometimes red emotions, right? And still help them do that thing. Because that's where I feel like sometimes our world, we're on a scale of like, everybody thinks this and now everybody thinks this. I feel like we're tending to lean towards what sometimes is termed snowplow parenting, where, oh, my teen doesn't want to go to school today because they're feeling social anxiety. Oh, well, I'll just let him stay home. And instead, we need to own up to parenthood of saying, oh, my teen is feeling some big emotions. I'm going to walk them through these steps, right? Of naming it, validating it, feeling it, putting it in our body. Like, where am I feeling this vibration? But also helping them power through it, because we can't just let our emotions run away with us and give them power instead of us having power over them.
Yep, that's when emotions truly cripple us, when they keep us from moving forward in our life. So can't wait to talk about that with you, Abby.
Awesome. Well, Cheree, you're so smart. And I hope this gave you some ideas on how you can help your teen be in charge of those emotions. Join us in our next episode as we share more practical, everyday use ways that you can help your teen power through some of those really big emotions. Thank you for listening to Let's Talk Teens, a parenting podcast to help you raise amazing teens. If you're looking for more help and tips on your teenager, visit Cheree on Instagram at Cheree Murdock Coaching, or you can find her on her website, ChereeMurdock.com. You can find Abbi on Instagram as Abbi Winslow, or on her website, AbbiWinslow.com. Please subscribe and rate our podcast and share with a fellow parent that you think would love this episode.